Welcome to Talks with Tracy, with certified hypnotherapist, life coach, and licensed mental health professional, Tracy Claremont. Tracy will share her healing journey and explore the many meaningful alternative healing methods in our world today that will support you in doing your own deepest emotional healing. So please welcome the host of Talks with Tracy, Tracy Claremont. Let the suffering end and the healing begin.
Hello and welcome to Talks with Tracy. I'm your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to listen to my podcasts, and thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, my sister's saying good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much to Bold Brave Television Network for giving me this beautiful opportunity. So I am so excited today to have my guest back from last week, Shirley Mitchell. She has agreed to come back to talk with us more. Last week we talked about lots of different things around hypnosis, and all the way from talking about using hypnosis or hypnotherapy to address issues in our current lifetime. And then we talked about how past life regression hypnosis can provide healing, where we talked about how we can bring things from our past lives into our current lives, and we can do healing with past life regression hypnosis around that. We talked about that, and we touched on her spiritual regression hypnosis that she does as well, where she actually guides people in going to have conversations with their oversouls. And that is a process of really gaining rich, deep understanding of our soul's purpose for coming into this lifetime. We talked about all of that last week on Talks with Tracy, number 34. So if you haven't seen that, I encourage you to do so. But what I found was there's just so much information, and it was such a rich topic that there's just so much more to talk about. So I asked her to come back today and continue our conversation, and thankfully she agreed to that. So Shirley Mitchell, she's a dear friend of mine. She is an amazing hypnotist. She's a spiritual regressionist. She's a spiritual adventurer, which I love that. She's an incredible musician. She's an expert hand analyst. She does so many things, and I'm so very happy to say that I get to learn from her on a regular basis. In fact, I proudly say I am one of her little minions in this learning process, and I am like a sponge. I just soak up all her knowing and everything she has to teach, and I so appreciate everything she's taught me and done for me, and I look forward to all that learning that is still to come from her. So I would love for you to welcome the beautiful and amazing Shirley Mitchell back to our show.
Hi, Tracy. And I would correct you, you're not one of my minions. You're one of my co-creative spirits. We're co-creating on this plane together.
Okay. Yes.
And maybe I'm the one that's opening and sparking a remembrance for you, but which of course I absolutely love and appreciate you, Tracy. So
Oh, thank
um,
you. I love that co-creating. That's such a beautiful way to say it.
yeah, so the way that we work as souls is we are bringing work together, and some of us spearhead it. But my feeling of you is that you're meant to be doing this kind of work with me, right? So because you're learning about consciousness through the hands, because the hands is a map of our individual consciousness. It tells all about our personality and the neural pathways we have turned on. And so you're learning about that, and you're also a hypnotist yourself, and I'm opening and expanding your understandings of what I've learned from hypnotism and
Yes.
consciousness, all of that.
Yes. And I so appreciate that whole process, that opening and expanding. It's it's just in it's to me it's kind of like mind blowing. There it's so that expansion and learning is so incredible, and I really appreciate that. So I love that co-creating with you. I like that. So I actually had quite a bit of interest sparked in people. I think when we talk about things like past life regression and spiritual regression and things like that, hypnosis in general, there's a lot of people who are curious about that, kind of intrigued by that, but still may think that they may be a little bit reserved about it because it's the unknown, and they kind of want to put their fingers in it and know a little bit more. And I think that's why I had questions that came out of our discussion last week. So if you're down for it, I would love to just kind of start with some of those listener questions. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, let's go.
Awesome. All right. So, this first question that I got, I think, is super interesting. And I've kind of wondered this myself. This person was asking about um, charismatic leaders. And so, she gave me quite a bit of information. She would say that she was invited to a church revival, like a big, big, big one with a very charismatic leader, and she had seen some YouTube videos of this person because she really wanted to check it out and see what it was before she, engaged in it. And she's somebody who believes in God. She's has Christian beliefs and all of that. So she just wanted to see if it was the right fit for her. And when she went to the YouTube videos, she saw that kind of work with people where, like, people from a large crowd would come up and um, the leader was, I don't know if I'm using the right word, and I apologize if I offend anybody, because I'm not trying to offend anybody, but like exorcising demons from a person, and it's kind of like dramatic and exhibitionist and whatnot. And she wasn't quite sure if she was down for that or not. And she wanted to know, and her question for us was, is that hypnosis? Is that charismatic leader hypnotizing that person to bring about this kind of dramatic scene? Do you have an opinion about that?
Yeah, I mean, I have some opinions. I mean, whether they're right or not, who knows? But but I do study the big picture of life, and I study consciousness, and I study how people's consciousness forms, and we all have our own little personal cult leaders that live inside of us, right? And I think that some cult leaders really, really do like appeal, right? Or people that we can like lean on someone else to find the way for us back to our source, right? And I do believe that all hypnosis is learning to come in and sit down and be safe and learn to take presence with ourselves in lots of different subtle layers. And it's really kind of more of a homecoming. And I think that, like if you look at people that attend certain rock concerts, they're all in a group hypnosis. And if you look at people that are into like I'm the sexiest person in the world and you're the other sexiest person in the world, they're also in some kind of hypnosis, like sexy world hypnosis, right? And like we all belong to different groups and boxes and ways of framing this experience, and that is kind of like a group hypnosis. I mean, we have in
Mm,
our subconscious mind doesn't just take what's being said to us, it also takes what's the consensus of the herd, what, little things that are in the background, and it double checks and reads it to see if it's true. So we're more likely to get drawn into something where we can go into a one-sided brained experience, with where there's groups involved, right? Because we can be hungry for connection, we can be hungry
mm.
um, for
Inclusion.
inclusion and connection with our own source, and we can outsource
Mm,
that, right? And
okay.
and I think that but it's really easy when, like when we hear something and we already have beliefs in a particular way, and then the group is confirming it to us. There is a group kind of thing that can go on. I mean, we've seen that even, um, like groups of men that can get together can go feral and do really awful things together, right? In a group hypnosis type of situation, because all of they're getting confirmation that this is the right way to go from this outside. The subconscious is being affirmed, right? Because when it's
Mm.
happening in the outer world as well as in our inner world, it's affirmed. Now, I grew up in a very charismatic Christian culture, so I'm very
Mm.
familiar with the speaking in tongues and the being slain in the spirit, and all of that stuff. And I do think that certainly the people that were at the front were people that are highly suggestible, right? I mean,
Mm.
highly suggestible people are, and people that have attention seeking, um, personality traits are going to gear more towards that. I mean, you're less likely to see a conservative rancher getting up and doing that kind of thing, right? But
Right.
and it's also a competition to who's the most spiritual and who can really hear from
Ah.
God and all of that. So so there was a competition, in my church, in speaking in tongues. There was people that they would speak in tongues and they'd say the same three phrases over and over again, right? But yet you would also see other people that, to me, the feminine aspect of the God family is like Holy Spirit, or soft, gentle, comforting, and also illuminating. And even if you go under ayahuasca, right, you're going to get Grandma Aya is what they call her, but it's essentially a soft feminine voice that comes to you, and it starts opening you in ways like a soft grandmother would, right? And opening you. So I feel like the Holy Spirit, you can call it whatever you want. There's lots of different flavors of it throughout all of the cultures, right? But and light language and speaking in tongues are very similar, right? It's like, and essentially it's more like getting out of your head and just getting into your heart and
Mm.
allowing bigger parts of you to flow through. So I think that but yeah, it is kind of a hypnosis because everybody else is doing it. It's a competition. It's like I know that it was painful to watch some of my family members as they just so wanted to be acknowledged as spiritual people in their
Mm.
group, right? And
Okay.
to be the elder or the person that someone thought and sought out for advice, and like our need to be heard and respected, and all of that is really, these are all just base needs that all humans have, whether we're in a church group or not. And so these really human things come out. But yeah, we certainly can cast spells with our words, and charismatic people naturally cast a spell. I know that with me, this kind of is a good segment for past lives because I have a charismatic, there's a way that like your heart line and fire and energy can kind of gather around it. And I have that charismatic thing. And my first reading with my hand teacher, he told me, we need to go to a break. It looks like here soon. So
Uh-huh.
I
Go
can just
ahead.
talk. So my hand teacher, the first thing he talked to me about is like, Shirley, you can make people drink Kool-Aid. What are you going to do with that? Right? Like, do you have, but you
Mm.
have all of these other things that keep that in check, right? To where you're gonna lead people towards truly love and joy and peace, right?
Mm. Right. Yeah. So you're right. We do need to go to a commercial break. When we come back, I'm just going to ask you to a couple more questions about that, and ask you to kind of like um, kind of do a little summary about like the meaning of when you say hypnosis with a mass group like that, like exactly what you mean by the hypnosis, because it's different than like standard hypnosis that we practice every day with an induction and things like that. I love what you're saying though about it being related to connection, and that sense of wanting to be the one, and all of that can be a form of hypnosis in a large group. But we do have to break for a commercial. So we'll start there when we come back. You're watching Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBN Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Talks with Tracy, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. So I have the pleasure of having the beautiful and amazing Shirley Mitchell back with us. We were just answering a listener question about charismatic speakers and like big church revivals where they do certain kind of things that are very dramatic and whatnot. And you did say that it is a type of hypnosis, but it's different. I believe what you were saying was that it's different from, the hypnosis that you and I do with people, with clients. And can you just explain a little bit more about the difference?
So even when you're at a rock concert, I mean, we have soul energy, right? All of us have a unit of soul energy, and some of us that are charismatic have more abundance of that soul energy, right? And so with souls, I mean, we can go to a rock concert and we can all join our energy together, and it's going to build something that is like a group energy that's going to be influencing us in a major way, right? We can go
Mm-hmm.
to a church revival and the same thing can happen. And I
Okay.
suppose in a church revival, if you're opening up to know the source better, to know um, the God family and the members of the God family in some way better, like that's beautiful, and that can be leading
Mhm.
you towards trusting life more and feeling more competent in life, right?
Mhm.
But if somebody is leading you away from that, and if you're not feeling that, I mean, I think that all souls are at different levels. So we have lifetimes where we're atheists, where we don't believe anything, and we have lifetimes where we believe, everything, and we have lifetimes where most of our lifetimes are spent outsourcing our wisdom, right? And the journey of hypnosis is going inside to find the personal connection, the
Mhm.
by meeting all the needs and calming all the voices and accepting all the parts in, we become more integrated into the bigger part of ourself that's connected into that godness, right? And
Mhm.
and as healers too, if you're going to a healer that's guiding you on a journey, their purpose and their goal is going to be to support you in your healing, not necessarily magnify themselves as some spiritual whatever, right? Some
Right.
soul that you have to pass through them to get to yourself, right?
Mm,
Because
right.
like we were all connected to the source energy. We're all a cell in the body of God. And you can go to Jesus if you want to, you can go to Buddha, you can look to others, you can look at their examples, but someday you're going to have to make the journey in this lifetime or the next to go connect up with your own God source energy.
Mm,
That's how I
yeah,
see it
absolutely.
anyway. That's how I see it. But yeah, it is different because we're like in hypnosis, therapeutic hypnosis, we are empowering others. We
Mm,
are holding space for them and yeah, so that I see it as a little bit different. But like a lot of revivals, if we're carrying around all this, you know, shame and guilt and things for things that we've done in the past, they can be really useful. I mean, Jesus is like, I'll carry it, right? And
mhm.
if that helps you get rid of that, then good. That's what's separating you from God, right?
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
your own self, your own inability to love yourself that's separating you. So if that works for you, then I think that that's wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I love that explanation. That's a great explanation. So, one of the other things, and I hope that answers the question for our listener.
I hope so
So,
too.
yeah, one of the other things that we looked at last week was past life regression. And again, um, I think this is something that people are often curious about, intrigued by. I can remember when I was doing my hypnotherapy certification training. I was learning that and I was super excited. I felt really comfortable doing that kind of hypnosis, so, kind of working on issues in this current lifetime and healing and whatnot. But then the trainer, Mark Johnson, he was saying, and I'm doing a past life regression training certification starting up right after this one. And I have an opening, Tracy, and I'd love for you to be in that. And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, I don't know. That's way out there. I don't know. Could I bring, guide somebody like that? And, I've never even been to a past life. And it was like, but I was also curious and intrigued. And then also, that was a time where I had already made that commitment to move towards things that I felt like I was being, that were unfolding before me. And that was an opportunity that unfolded. So, I had this person on this side saying, scary, no. And then this other person saying, and now we're going to do it. So I did. And it's amazing. I absolutely love visiting my own past lives and guiding people in past life regression. So the next question from a listener is, when she was listening last week, she said that she was reminded of a time when she was receiving a reading, and in this reading, she was talking about these feelings that she had in this lifetime today of like overwhelming sense of being unworthy, undesirable, even feeling like she was like dirty and just completely unlovable. And when she shared that with the person doing the reading, that person said that she had a past life where she was caged as a child and just horrifically abused and neglected. She wasn't allowed to even come out of her cage to bathe or anything like that, and she was shunned and disgraced. And so that her awareness was brought to that lifetime. But in that reading, the awareness was there, but there was like in hypnosis, we would then go in and do healing around the experiences of that lifetime. And that part didn't happen because it was a reading. So she was, kind of wondering like, could she do healing for that lifetime today? Like, can you go to a hypnotist and ask to go to that specific lifetime, or how does that whole thing work?
Yeah, so when something's coming into your awareness, it usually means that it's time for it to heal, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and essentially, you can go to someone and you can have them guide you if there's more to learn about it. But a lot of times, what is important is that she already had the feelings, right? The feelings
Mm-hmm.
of feeling dirty and feeling unaccepted and different things like that. And
Mhm.
it doesn't really matter what the story is around that, but that those feelings are there, right? In other words, and I apologize, I've got, I think I must, I was sharing this link on Facebook, and I think it's beeping me every time someone does something on there. Um, so yeah, so when it's time for it to heal, it's more like the awareness needs to come up. So she can go and visit that, but it might be really painful. And there's a lot of things that she could glean there, but I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. Well, something's still digging, so I apologize. Um, but I don't know that it's necessarily necessary, because what's really necessary for the healing is for her to, again, the gateway to this part of her is her imagination, and to
Mm,
just begin to, what would she do if she found a child in a cage that had been treated this way? How would she treat
mm,
that child? What would she do to heal that child? Because whenever we have a giant wound, we actually encapsulate that wound in time, and then we go out and become the healer that is able to heal that wound. So she already is the healer who's able to heal that wound, or it wouldn't be coming forward, because it's kind of encapsulated outside of time, um, for that time. So the fact that it's coming forward to her, if she were going to do, I mean, any past life regressionist with could probably do this with her, but they could, she could just talk about it and go in. Again, we both know that when someone comes in, their soul has been preparing them to go somewhere, and we're just
mhm,
facilitating that happening. So however that happens, but also too, it's just like, how would you treat that person, and to
mm,
realize this person lives inside of you, and this person needs your love and your attention and your time. And I
mm,
found that, especially when something comes forward, that the first couple weeks are really important for the integration. I had an experience where I was obsessed as a child with the the French Revolution. And I was obsessed with movies about that. I mean, what 12-year-old girl's obsessed with movies about people getting their heads chopped off, right? I was. My soul was trying to come to terms with it. The pain was inside of me. I was trying to come to terms with it. And so again, when that happens, I've found that like pairing with that part, comforting that part, bringing your love and attention to that part, that is that part of your whole, which is all of your past lives are part of you, and to just love on them, and make a little bit of time, do some journaling, do some researching about the era, do some researching
mhm.
about children left in cages and what happens, right? And just attend to, and that's really all that's needed is,
Wow.
is
Yeah.
go ahead.
So you could do a process where you even just kind of quiet your mind, quiet yourself, close your eyes, visualize what was shown to you, and then maybe do a process of going to that injured child and giving them the love and the safety, the protection that they so badly needed then. And
Yeah, I mean, I go as far as to set up little like skits in my home, like areas, like a place that's really protected, a place that has lots of pillows, a place that has lots of treats, and take that part in. And it's more about looking at that part, and touching her head and touching her heart, and letting her know that you're with her, and you're with her, and that you're eternal, and that you have lived on, and that look at how safe your life is. Show her the safe people you have in your life. Show her how you can leave the house. Show her how that you have money and you have provision and food. Show her all that you have, and let her know that you are her.
right. So I think we'll skip the ad because I really want to keep on going with our talk about this past life regression. Um, so the other part, so you're saying there are things that she could do today just on her own in
Yeah, but while
regard
she's
to that.
eating
And
her
that's amazing.
lunch, while she's eating her lunch, while she's driving to work, put her in a seatbelt and let her know how safe she is, and she gets to go with you everywhere. And when you partner with these parts of yourself, your imagination is what, but it
Hmm.
works. It works. Like you can be like, well, I'm pretending this and that. I take parts of me on dates. When a part comes forward, it is a precious homecoming. And it is when you
Hmm.
become aware of that part and the pain of that part, it's like setting aside some time and just really being with that part. And you'll find the thing that's awesome is that part of your own energy comes back to you. That is why we do this. Our own
Hmm.
sanctity, our own peace, our own joy, our own freedom in life comes back to us with every single part that we integrate. And
Right.
and yeah, so just little simple ways. Set a place for her at the table. Um, make her sit at the table of worthy and eat and drink to her heart's content, right? When you
Mm.
go somewhere, when you're doing adult things, you ask your guides if she'll watch the little girl, whatever, right? So this is integrating all of our parts, and you'll find that sometimes a past life, I mean, depending on how much pain, like my French Revolution life has taken a really long time, but I've had other ones that have happened much more quickly. But pretty soon you find that all of these parts of you are in a room together and they're all supporting you with their energy because, like part of our childhood innocence could be there, part of our ability to get things done or to make money in the world could be stuck in a past life, right? So most of
Mm.
our problem,
Hmm.
like, because when we're in a whole state, we're unlimited, right? So if
Hmm.
we're limited, it's either because the soul wants us to be, or there's a part that needs to be reconnected with, right?
Right, absolutely. And the second part of her question was, how she could like thank that little girl for having the strength to keep coming back and again and again into lifetimes. But maybe that question has already been answered by what you're saying, by bringing her into this lifetime and giving her, showing her that worthiness and giving her that seat at the table and giving her that love and integrating her into um, the self. Is that right?
Yeah, so like I wrote a song to a poem, and this poem was by this guy named Jack Adam Weber, and he said, "Never injured to begin with. I have no interest in being healed. I just had to crack open in this beautifully painful way. And my soul spoke in the darkness, and I became whole in the darkness. And the pain that I've been running from is the gift that set me free." And the thing that's very interesting is that when we have past life, and one of the things that we can do is we are magic makers. So one of the things that I've done with a lot of my past lives is I've created a different story for them, right? In other words, to the woman who was a prostitute and had nowhere else to go, that got pregnant and was pregnant on the street in the rain, dying of sickness, right? And I died in that place. Okay. I came to her and I created another story with her. I said, "What would you like to happen instead?" And she wanted to have like a place where she could sew, and she had a little business and a group of women, and they started sewing and mending people's dresses, and she was able to support herself, and her daughter was able to have a beautiful life, right? So you can go in and recreate that story for her and help her, so because that part doesn't really know, it's just like suspended in time, just like our brain doesn't know if healing is happening or not. It's just depending on what we're telling ourselves, right?
Mm.
So creating a story for that part, like after we've attended to the pain, we don't want to bypass the pain. The pain has got to be felt, witnessed, transmuted, and spent time with. So, but when you're done with that, create a new story with that part of you, right?
Mm.
Someone came to rescue her, and whatever comes forward, and let there be peace in that story, right?
Right. So, you're saying that people, we can do this like you've done this on your own, in your own imagination. Also, if people are listening and thinking, that seems like a lot or hard for me to do, then that's what people like you and I are here for, to guide that process. And that,
Yeah, because
yeah.
we get stuck when we have a big trauma. What we're wanting to do is we're wanting the trauma to release, right? And the soul's having all these experiences, but the soul is a magic maker. So in a way, it's like it's able to go in and create the new story. It's able to go in and reframe, and that part doesn't need to be stuck in torment for eternity, right? And I do
Mhm.
believe that this is the part of becoming whole, is that we're taking all of our parts that are stuck in the infinite realms, right? That are divided between all of our lifetimes, because the oversoul's having like at least 500 experiences on this planet Earth scenario, right?
Mhm.
Um, and the goal in our completing lifetimes is to actually open the door to all of the lifetimes that we have issues, like our lifetimes that we have, like my lifetime when I was in France with my husband and we had a farm and everything was beautiful and wonderful. We have lifetimes of recovery. That was a recovery lifetime. We had an awful one before that together, right? So that's a recovery one. But but I don't carry anything that is negative from that. But it's really important for me to visit it so that I can remember that we've had joyful times together too, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
in our soul history together, and that I have had recovery. A lot of times we go to Hawaii and like we have skin to skin contact and sunshine in a recovery lifetimes. We have a lot of lifetimes where really good things are built, as well as the things that are difficult. But to become whole, we have to go back to all of those places, and we have to welcome them back into the continuation of us, because we become these wise, beautiful, multifaceted beings from all of these experiences. And actually the dark things are kind of like the places that the light really cracks through, right? So
Mm.
people that
That's
have really
beautiful.
extreme child abuse, what you find is, and we see this in hands too, like child abuse stars, they're people that are gifted in helping people that have child abuse, right?
Mm.
So,
Okay.
so like as far as, like that will be turned into a gift. Whatever pain and suffering we went into will be turned into a gift. And that's just a soul promise. So
Mhm.
there's really big dividends from going in and doing this, attending to the need, because it's just like when a child falls and they hurt their knee. All they need is someone that cares, and someone that will listen, and someone that will acknowledge and bring compassion to the situation, and they can heal it. And anytime that a child doesn't have that, that's when a block happens. And we can
Mm.
reach the age of 25 and we can have 1,000 blocks that are happening, that are all blocking our light and our energy. And again, a lot of times they group together in buckets, but when we do the healing of those things, then the energy that we left in time comes back to us. Um,
Mm.
and it really intersects with, I mean, we can say that, oh, I'm going into this imaginary world and into this inner world that's very unique to me and doing all these things, but it does translate into the outer world. How have I become a wise, kind, beautiful, compassionate person, right? It is through this very thing, right? How have
Right.
I opened up my giftings? It's through this very path, because
Mm.
you're untangling all of the knots in your energy. Anything that disallows your energy is, um, it's restricting you. And our
Mhm.
goal in life always is to become unrestricted, to get out of the knots. And even the things that we hold on to for a long period of time, we go deeper with them, right? If we've hung on to cheating issues for, 400 lifetimes, we're going deep into that. And
Oh.
it's the deepest exploration of our own worthiness, right? Of being cherished, right?
Right. And you mentioned the word goal, and one of the quotes that um, I always write down, I don't know if you know this, but I write down little quotes from you because I love your words. And I don't mean to sound like, some kind of like stalker or something like that. I'm not, but I do appreciate you. So one of the things that I wrote down was that a quote from you that said, "The goal is to get to a place where the heart matters."
Yeah.
And that sounds like what you're talking about, right? Making those connections,
Yeah.
brain heart connections.
All parts of us matter. Our thoughts matter. And actually, it means a lot to me. Like if you knew how much the wise part of me that needs to share loves that, that you write down little quotes for me, like it means so much because what's the point of being a teacher if nobody's going to um,
Mm,
resonate with what you're saying, right? So that's beautiful. And we have so many parts that need to be acknowledged. And if we study all of the pains of all humans over lifetimes and over, like we all have this special, unique nature that needs to be acknowledged, this beautiful heart that needs to be cherished. We have these beautiful thoughts where we need to have grace for our process of growing and our
mhm,
process of um, being in this development of getting back to ourselves, right? And it's really a process of learning to give that to ourselves too, and to receive from others. And as a
mhm.
collective, we really need each other. We need one another. Um, we're essentially part of the same being if you look at the biggest picture, right? And we're very connected, which
Right.
is the journey to the oversoul, right? The oversoul, and the work that I've been doing there with hypnosis. I mean, do we have any more questions about last week?
Um,
Or should we
I
jump?
have one more question that we'll save for the very end, but I would like to talk about exactly where you were going with the oversoul work. And one of the other quotes that I love from you is you said hypnosis is like an invitation from the soul to explore, and you have to trust the journey. And I found myself really focusing on trusting the journey when I did hypnosis, where you guided me in an oversoul experience, so which was really meaningful. Now, that's where you're really looking at purpose for what your soul is here to accomplish and whatnot. Is that right with the oversoul?
Yeah, the oversoul is the part that has set up this whole experience to have a relationship with you, right? And
Right.
to enjoy you and to celebrate you and to form you and mold you. And yeah, and I think that all roads lead to oversoul, and oversoul has not been explored very heavily. There's one transcendentalist that kind of touched on oversoul. And of course, during the big psychotherapy movement that Carl Jung kind of spurned, he also touched on oversoul a bit. And, I had lots of, time, like I didn't know that oversoul was a more understood concept. So, but yeah, well, I'll
Right.
go more into
So,
that.
yeah, we do need to break for a commercial, but when we come back, we'll kind of start there, and then we'll do that final question from a listener. So,
All right.
yeah, you're watching Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Talks with Tracy, coming to you live on Bold Brave Television Network. This is our final segment. I just want to throw out that final listener question that I had for you today, so that it can be answered in this last short segment. So the question is, what can we do to, like support our spiritual fitness? Like if we want our physical fitness, we go to the gym. What can we do to continue on our healing, our growth, our forward movement in our spiritual development so that we can maintain spiritually fit, I guess?
Yeah, well, I think that it's just continuing the process of being led by your soul. Like the things that are coming in that are, the books that are jumping off the shelf, the things that are coming into your life. And of course, learning from the closest people in our lives daily is often our spiritual fitness journey, right? Like our oversoul has placed people in our lives and they are playing roles for us, not because they're an A whatever, or a four-letter word, but uh, but because they are playing a role for us, right? Because they love us. And if you look at that, everybody in your life is playing a role for you because like they love us, because everybody is oversoul. And the oversouls interact on a different level than we can even imagine, right? In other words, the oversoul can come through a newbie soul because it's all oversoul. And when it talks to you, like the young soul might be just, really, you know, like looking at the superficial and all of those different things, but deep inside of that, but when they talk to you, they're talking sometimes through their oversoul. So it is, it is, it's a beautiful thing depending upon your level, right, of development. And I would say, so pressing into our relationships. And I really feel like, becoming spiritually minded is really about getting out of dichotomies. And, one exercise that you can do is just uh, opposites. Like how can I experience my deepest truth in the midst of my delusion, right? So you don't answer it, you just allow it to just kind of sit with you and allow your subconscious to answer, because this process of life is all about like cheating is bad and then you go become a cheater, and you see the other side of it, and let's say that this is bad, and then we go to the other side of it, and this is good, and we go and visit that side of it. So we are exploring all of these dichotomies. So the more that you can open and expand yourself into there not being necessarily a right or wrong for every person, and that every situation has magic in it, and all of that, the sooner that you can kind of just flow and trust. I mean, trusting your soul is kind of the quickest way to spiritual development. Trusting your
Mm-hmm.
soul and removing anything that causes a lot of distrust, right, with the journey that you're on. Some of us are here to walk in our power. I mean, there's a lot of ancient tools. Our astrology tells about what we're here to do. Our fingerprints tell what we're here to do. We can go visit our in utero. That can tell us a little bit about what we're here to do. But all of the paths kind of lead home. And I guess just be where you're at. That's kind of like, like if somebody's super hungry, and I'm guessing the person that asked this question is like a super hungry spiritual traveler, right? So for
Yes.
them, the meals that they're going to need to eat is going to be more and more. And just realize that the one that is leading you to know more and more and more and to seek out more is that oversoul. The
Mm-hmm.
oversoul, your own oversoul, is waiting for you to ask, to invite, for the invitation for you to let go of the lower things and to come into openness. Because like oversoul is higher energy, and it doesn't really choose to relate in the energy of I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough anything, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not enough, right? We've got to, the oversoul is pure goodness and pure positivity and pure abundance. And so when you rejoice in the beauty of your existence, you are communing with your oversoul. When you are thankful for the cookie that you get to have with your last 25 cents, that is co-creating with your oversoul. When you are standing at a dead end road and you reach out to your oversoul and say, where is the way through? That is oversoul leading you there. So and the oversoul is truly happy with you, truly pleased with all that you are, loves you no matter whatever you've done. You are part of the Innocence Project for Oversoul. The Oversoul is taking full responsibility. It is truly not the narcissistic parent, but the truly, fully
Mm-hmm.
responsible and resourceful, full adult parent. And so, again, like it's not until we reach the levels of understanding that we begin to really seek out oversoul. That's the time. That's when we're ready. And this spiritual seeking person, like to seek out your oversoul is the quickest path to spirituality because it is the most spiritual you, right? It is your highest point of light and love. It is the cell that exists in the God family that is full of wisdom and grace and all beauty and all understanding and all
Mm-hmm.
answers that are specifically tailored for you. You have a personal representation in the God's family. That's what I've learned. And oversoul is the piece that has been missing. There's like us that is this measly, I'm going to borrow a word from earlier, minion. I'm going to like this not worthy to eat the crumbs off of the God table, right?
Mm-hmm.
And through innocence and through our worthiness, we elevate to, like opening to the bigger part of us, right? Because our bigger us is truly more than we can even imagine. And oversoul is missing because it is our personal connection to God. It's like not just minion and God or dirt and God, right? And lower than dirt
Mm-hmm.
and God. And that pedestaling is not at all what the God family is about. And um and so yeah, the oversoul is so beautiful. And so like the process of walking to your oversoul is coming into worthiness and coming out of shame. And there are, like we talked about demons in the beginning, and I do believe that those are really a real thing. That is what is hard about this planet, is that we have the lower energies here. And if you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine, it's almost like there's this lower dimension that is part of life that has been able to invade in this territory. And so when we
Mm.
come here in our inner voices, we can't tell the difference between what is us and what is them. And
Mm.
I would say a lot of the dark things that are done by them and not us, right?
Yeah.
And
Right,
that
because we are love and light, and that's what our oversoul is there to show us. So we do need to wrap it up. Is there any final thing that you'd like to say, or can you tell us how maybe people would follow you, uh, find you for
yes,
services?
I'm getting ready to kind of launch myself in a bigger way. I do have some YouTube stuff, and you can just look up Shira Lee Mitchell and on the internet. You can find some stuff on me and other things that I've done. And of course, I have a Miracles with Shira Lee on Facebook that you can ask to be a
Mm.
part of, and I'll be doing more with that here later. You can also email me at Shiralee, my name, Shyralee, at me.com. And I do readings, I do hypnosis, I do a lot of different things and just spiritual advisement. So, um,
Beautiful. Yes, and I highly recommend it. I've done a lot of that with you myself, and it's just that it's all part of that expansion, and it's really been so impactful for me. I so appreciate you, and I so appreciate you for taking the time to be here today. I know you kind of have a busy day. You have a wedding to go to and things.
yeah, I'm throwing a
Yeah.
shower for my daughter-in-law,
Oh,
and we had
okay.
nothing but wedding, and I had a house showing yesterday, so we've been like, oh my gosh, it's been a kind of insane
Well,
week, but
thank you so much for squeezing this podcast in, and I so appreciate you. And I'd love to have you back again and whatnot. So, but we'll close it up for today. So, thank you everybody for listening to this podcast. I hope that we answered some questions, and um, I will be actually back next week, and I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about next week, but I do know that it's going to be around hypnosis. So please join me next week for Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
This has been Talks with Tracy. Join us each week as Tracy and her guests will come together and realize that underneath it all, we are all the same and never alone. So join us each week and let Talks with Tracy be your safe place to land in your healing journey. Right here, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.